Welcome to True Talk on WMNF 88.5 with Ahmed, Bedier, and Samar Jarrah. Today is September 11th, 2025, 24 years after the September 11th attacks on the United States. Many years later, this many years, over 2 decades later, many of those files are still sealed, and it's still a topic of discussion as we remember those that were killed on that day and the aftermath of them and the ongoing wars, the forever wars that have continued since. I always think of, what really happened and who was really behind it and who was involved. There's so many unanswered questions. Definitely, what has been released so far is not the full story because there's so much that's still sealed and people are still asking questions about it. Summer, September 11th had a huge impact on both of our lives. So, how
Assalamu
are you
alaikum.
remembering this day?
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed. Usually I get quite anxious before it, but there are so many things happening in the world and in the USA that I'm anxious all over the place from, of course, what is happening in Gaza, but also this military attack on Qatar, which is like an independent nation state that was involved with finding a way to bring the hostages home, to end the war, bring aid to Gazans. And at the same time, the assassination yesterday of Kirk, the influencer. So comes, whenever I feel that we are healing as a nation, as people, something happens and reminds me that there is so much evil out there in the world and there is so much, I don't know what to say, but yes, of course, it changed my life and your life, and it introduced me to you. And I have known you now for almost 24 years because of.
You might want to clarify what do you mean by introduce you to me? I guess because we had nothing. It just, yeah, some
No,
people.
I mean, did I know you before September 11th?
No, we did not know
Okay,
each other.
okay,
But in
that's
general, what you mean, I think what you meant was that, like you, um, I became a lot more involved in my community. I mean, for those that are just new to our show or haven't listened to us before, Samar and I are both Muslim. We're both American. We're both Arab Americans. And of course, 9/11 had a huge impact on Americans in general, but specifically for Muslims and Arabs, there was a backlash after 9/11. Muslim Americans and Arab Americans were treated as somehow as suspect, and many were rounded up, and people were attacked, and there was this backlash and finger pointing, and people that were somehow blaming Muslims and Islam for the attacks of 9/11, because that's what they were seeing on television, and for me, that actually motivated me to get more involved in my community, to stand up and defend our community. And I ended up getting more involved as far as volunteering. I eventually, started a um, a civil rights organization in the area that's still going strong today. It's a chapter of the national organization called Council on American Islamic Relations, and I did that for a number of years. I never imagined I would be doing that kind of work, and
what did you,
yeah.
that's what I wanted to know because I saw a picture of you with long hair and the total opposite of you today. Like what was your profession or what were you
Before
doing?
I was in IT, I was in IT. I worked actually for an IT company that went bankrupt, and I was laid off. And then I joined, did some business, and but I was in the IT field, and I had my own company. And then 9/11 happened, and at that time I had just started. I was 20 something, maybe 26, 25. and I had just started getting more involved in the mosque. I was kind of trying to find myself. This is before 9/11. So when 9/11 happened, and a lot of media started coming and wanting to ask questions about the Muslim community and their reaction and stuff. A lot of the elders that were in the mosque. I was like one of the youngest people attending or going to the masjid. Masjid is Arabic for mosque, which is a Muslim house of worship. So the older people, especially like the immigrants, they asked me to speak to the media because they didn't want to deal with them. They kind of had a language barrier and they're kind of afraid of speaking to them. So I didn't know any better. I didn't really have much experience with the media. So I said, why not? I talked to them, ended up doing an interview, and it ended up being on the front page of the local, at the time it was called the St. Petersburg Times, Tampa Bay Times now. And it was a front page like article about the Muslims of Tampa, but specifically featuring me. Like there's a photo of me praying in the mosque, and it started out something like, um, Ahmed Bedier. He's like whatever 20 something. I forgot what the age was, and it said he's Muslim, and and he is the average age of the 9/11 hijackers, or so, something
Oh,
of that nature.
what a way to
What a
introduce.
way to start the article. So somehow it links me with those, evil guys. And then but it goes on to say, well, he's doing this and he's doing that, and the Muslims are peaceful in the community, etc. And then once I was featured in that, I started getting a lot of calls from the media. I just became like a de facto spokesperson, mostly because when the media called, I would just respond and answer their questions where others weren't. And I became accessible. And that's what I was doing for a while. And then another event happened locally to our mosque, which really motivated me to actually do more about it. And that was like a month or so before the anniversary, the first anniversary of 9/11. So now we're talking about 2002, sometime in August, at the end of August. Like similar to around now, but before the before the anniversary. There was a guy, a podiatrist that lived in Pinellas County, and he was arrested because he was in a domestic dispute with his wife. They were arguing or whatever. She was afraid. She called her mother. Her mother ended up calling the sheriff's office in Pinellas County and saying, "Oh, my daughter is afraid for her life. Her husband is going crazy. I'm afraid he's going to hurt her, and he has guns." So the sheriff's office in Pinellas County responds to this guy's house, this doctor. He wasn't, I guess, to see what's going on. He wasn't there. They found her, and she's like, I'm afraid of him. He's going whatever. And they said, can we search the house? Because she mentioned something about guns, or the mom mentioned something about guns. So they were interested in finding out, what's inside. They go inside this home in Seminole, Florida, and they find a huge arsenal of weapons. Many of them are illegal, like hundreds of weapons, not just pistols, but even machine guns, bombs, homemade bombs, a mine, like the ones they use in war, and armor piercing kind of, like just unbelievable amount of weapons. And then in it, they find this 3-page document. It became like what they identified as a manifesto. And on the top of this document, and you guys, people could look this up. On top of this document, he said the objective was to kill all the ragheads at this Islamic center. And it was a drawing, it included a drawing of the mosque that I attended and I was, a regular to with my family in Pinellas County. I lived there at the time. And it was just, it took a couple of days for the news to come out. And then in it, after they arrested him and questioned him and stuff, it eventually came out that he wanted to do all of this. At first, it was hush hush. They were kind of like, "Oh, the guy's crazy," et cetera, et cetera. And it eventually came out when there was an indictment that he wanted to carry out this attack on the anniversary of 9/11 against this Muslim community in Pinellas County and kill all these people because he wanted to retaliate against 9/11 and what the Palestinians are doing in Israel. He happened to be Jewish. He happened to be a Zionist, His name was Robert Goldstein, and he ended up cutting a deal. He didn't go to trial. He made a deal, and he said he had some mental illness, and he got 12 years in jail. So we never, and he had three other co-conspirators that were arrested with him, another a dentist, and then two other people. One of them was actually charged, was actually his wife, that she was in on it as well. And so after we saw that this guy wanted to kill all of us at this Islamic center, and he had a list of 50 other mosques that he wanted to carry this out in, that was really shocking to me and was a huge turning point. I kind of dedicated my time and my life from there on to defend the community, and I got, started this civil rights organization. But can you imagine? I know, sorry, I'm going on a really long time, but for a while here, but it had a huge impact on me because here's this guy, ordinary guy, professional, that's working in a community as a doctor, and he had this such hatred for us that he wanted to kill all of us. In fact, on his manifesto, him and his co-conspirator, I think his name was Michael Hardy, he was a dentist in Tampa. They were going to hide in the bushes, and when the paramedics came to save the Muslims that were attacked by this, bombing, they were going to kill them by shooting them, so they can prevent them from helping the Muslims. So they're going to even shoot the paramedics.
Oh
That's
my,
how detailed this plan was. Very few people even hear about it because the media didn't make a big deal about it.
no.
Meanwhile, they only talk about Muslim terrorists, but they don't talk about these Zionist terrorists that were living with us because it didn't fit the narrative. And instead of going to trial in Tampa, they did a deal, and he came out 12 years later, and he was on probation. And guess what? He got arrested again for weapons possessions, and then he went for jail. So I stopped following. I think he's in Boca Raton now. I don't know if he's released or is in jail, but he had two other incidences even after being released. And the fear was, is he going to come after us at some point, in the future?
Wow, Ahmed, yes, I remember that the media hardly was covering the news because at the time, what fit the scenario was just there are only one evil people out there and they are the Muslim. But the same thing happened to me. Our local paper had published this op-ed that I think was published all over America, most newspapers, local newspapers, why they hate us. And this was a very disturbing article or an op ed that labeled Muslims as jealous, backward, retarded, no civilization, no culture, no passion, no compassion, and we're just jealous from democracy. Like, that's why we kill. And there
Yeah.
wasn't a very clear cut distinction between me as Samar or my husband and a terrorist or Osama bin Laden. So I called the newspaper and I said, this the publication of this op-ed puts me and anyone in this community in danger. And he had no idea, of course, how many Muslims there were. I said, open the newspaper, look at this advertising. It happened that there is a local restaurant and had taken a full page to advertise. And this is something like $20,000. I said, you see this? He said, yeah. I said, this is a Muslim. He says, but his name is Abe. I said, yeah, Abraham. So I
Hmm.
started showing him the names of people who advertise, like the names of doctors. And I said,
Mm.
not every Muslim's name is Muhammad. There are names that you may not know. Like Samar, how on earth would you know if I'm a Muslim or not? Anyways, and I said, I don't have to go this route to tell you that we pay your salary. And this is not right. He said, okay, you made your point. Would you like to be to have an interview? I'll give you
Uh,
as much space as we have given this op-ed. So Ahmed, on a Sunday, I wake up and there is like almost the length of the newspaper, an interview with me. Of course, anyways,
Was
That
the interview accurate based on what you
it
said?
was actually extremely accurate, and I just went out, and I was critical of US government, and I thought, Samar, are you crazy? Is this the right time? Uh,
Yeah.
are you nuts? So I swear to God, Ahmed, I had like heart palpitations. I went to the outside to get the newspaper, and then
Mhm.
I said, the only thing I can do is go to the gym, and then as soon as I walked into the gym, an older gentleman, like never seen him. He's like maybe 80 years old, and he says, Samar, and I'm like,
How do you know me?
like, oh my, they had a photo of me, but
Yeah, yeah, I know.
my
So
hair
you're
is
like,
pulled
okay.
now. So I
Hmm.
said, yeah. And I'm waiting for him to throw a dumbbell at me or something. And he says, what an excellent interview. What a beautiful things you said. I said, are you sure? He says, yeah, I'm so proud of you. I said, how did you know me? He said, I'm a patient of your husband.
Wow.
And Ahmed, since that day, oh my gosh, the amount of churches, synagogues,
Hmm.
Unitarian Universe, any bit, I mean, people were just calling and asking me to come and speak because they don't talk to Muslims.
Right. We've both of us, especially after 9/11, for years, we would respond and go to these community meetings in libraries or churches. I've gone to synagogues, and a lot of times they have the same questions. Some of them that seem silly to us, that are
Yeah.
stereotypical about women and jihad and violence, things that they hear online or see on television, and we have to dispel those stereotypes. And like we have a lot more in common with Jews and Christians than they actually think. It's we believe it's all the same religion actually, and they're like shocked. And no, our goal is not. And we tell them our goal is not to kill people who are not Muslim, and they're like, "What?" That's what we thought. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
Summer and I are not doing a good job of it then because we haven't heard anyone. But this is all stems like after 9/11 on September 20th. George Bush gave a speech to Congress where he answers this question, why do they hate us? And, he said, I'm looking this up. I actually used Google's AI to recall it. And he says, quote, they hate our freedoms. They hate freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, our freedom to vote and assemble and disagree with each other. Like, that's the reason. And it was just so simplified. None of that is actually true because it was pretty clear. And this is something that the 9/11 reports bury, and they actually, I think, took it out of that. And again, when I say this, this is not to justify anything that happened on 9/11. It's just to just tell the facts. What did bin Laden and those guys say their motivation was? And their motivation, you can Google it yourself or ask ChatGPT, their motivation has always been consistent that they are that it's in response to what the American military presence in the Middle East and what they're doing there, and U.S. military support for Israel and the occupation against the Palestinians. They repeated it over and over, but because it points out that hey, they have a problem with what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, and we're talking about 2001. The lobby or people with power, they removed that because they don't want Americans to know that, hey, this support for Israel is causing, which is not fair support, it's unjust because Israel is carrying out injustice and genocide and ethnic cleansing. It's creating problems for America. It's making us less safe. Again, that's not to justify what they did because it does not excuse it. Attacking civilians is never acceptable. Killing people like that is never acceptable, whether it's on a human basis or a religious basis. Nothing in Islam actually justifies killing civilians or attacking people like that. But it's a lie to say that, oh, America was attacked because they hate our freedoms. No, people in that part of the world, they don't hate Americans free. They want to be free as well. And if you actually study the region, a lot of those people in the Middle East are not free, not because they don't want to be free. It's because the leaders and the dictators that run their countries are actually put in place and supported by the United States and Western powers to stay there to keep their people oppressed. So
Exactly.
it's just like they want to be
The
free as well.
opposite.
They
It's
want to
the
be,
total opposite.
yeah, it's a total opposite. So and
That's
that's why
like
when like this, Arab Spring happened and all these Arabs were out trying to be free and they want elections, they want democracy, it didn't fit the narrative because like, wait a minute, I thought, because these people have been on television here telling people that, oh, they don't want democracy and they don't want freedom. But the Arab Spring was showing like masses of people were going out, toppling their dictators, seeking freedom and liberty and others. So definitely 9/11 had a huge impact on both of our lives. And eventually we found each other through WMNF. And now we're doing this show for 22 years. So, but some we're switching topics and we want to talk about what's happening in Gaza. And towards the end of the program, we want to talk about this attack that took place in Qatar and what that means for the region. But now we're joined by our guest, if you want to introduce him.
Yes, I'm very pleased to say that we're going to be talking to Dr. Masoud Ranginwala. I hope I am pronouncing it correctly. And Dr. Masoud was born in New Jersey and lived there and most of his life in New York, where he went to medical school and where he practiced. And he went on a medical mission to Gaza and to the Palestinian occupied territories for almost, I think, 2.5 weeks in late July through early August. And he worked with healthcare professionals and local physicians. Also, internationals who come from all over the world to try and go to the emergency rooms at Al Shifa Hospital in Gaza City and Al Aqsa Hospital. Good to have you, Dr. Masoud, on True Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Masoud, how did you think of going to a war zone? I mean, Gaza is not like going, volunteering. I know there are so many medical missions that go all over the world, but Gaza in particular is like a war zone where nothing is a taboo. Israel can bomb schools, hospitals, clinics, kill doctors, kill physicians. How did you end up going there?
That's a very good question. Actually, my wife was actually a very important in terms of encouraging me to go. Actually, yeah, I mean, it's humanitarian disaster zone there, and we see what's happening. However, I've been in contact with many colleagues, or a few colleagues, like Dr. Bilal and Dr. Farhan from Dallas, and they've actually been to Gaza a few times. And there's been others as well who've been there more than once. There is a little bit of zone of protection for the international physicians who do go there. You go in an armored vehicle, you do from hospital to hospital, you basically go through vehicles which are, before you sort of travel between cities, because that's actually very dangerous. I mean, like it's open to getting bombed anywhere you basically travel, particularly if you're in a truck or not. But basically get a green light from the Israeli army that you can travel. However, yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, everything is. There's no guarantee, even as we've seen recently, about a week or so ago, that Nasser Hospital, 3 missiles, uh, were shot there and killed scores of, or what, 20 people or so. Obviously, they were aiming at journalists, but even after the first attack, there was 2 additional missiles. There was, it is a war zone. But again, the encouragement was, I'm an emergency physician. Physicians in general, they pride themselves, or many, that, oh yeah, we're doing this to save lives. But What about those people who are suffering, who are like, there? I mean, if I'm true to that, um, the onus is on me at least to do something, not just from the luxury of my own home or from an emergency room where we're treating people who are much more better status. So a lot of thought was put there, but once I decided, and actually my wife was instrumental in encouraging me, and I have no regrets actually. In fact, I hope to go back to Gaza in the future.
So tell us, Dr. Masoud, when you went there, was it anything like you expected? I mean, I'm sure you follow the news, you see what the Palestinians and Arab media would be showing. Was it like you expected?
No, the pictures and the columns and the news do not do justice with what's going on. It's much worse on the ground. Everyone is suffering, some more than others. And it's devastating because all the people who I treated and my colleagues, all of them are civilians. I mean, there's this blanket thing every time, like when there's a bombing, that there's Hamas there, Hamas there. I didn't see any Hamas. They're all civilians, and most of them are young. Many of them are children. Most, at least when I was there, unfortunately now things have probably shifted a bit more to bombings and explosions. But before, when I was there, just as we were just leaving, the Israel parliament approved the takeover of Gaza City, which is already, 80% destroyed. I mean, to say that we're going to destroy it, how much more can you destroy something which has already been 80% destroyed? I don't get that. I mean, it's just like, and people are, vast majority of people have lost their homes. They've lost everything. And those who have not, the buildings that are partially or destroyed or not suitable for habitations, where there's not even, like, they're living 4 or 5 stories up and there's not even any walls. But still, that beats being in a tent in near 100-degree weather where there's no water, there's no electricity. And this is a situation in the people of Gaza. Particularly, again, I was in Gaza City. That's the main hub. That's like 1 million plus Palestinians who are 80% of, they're basically living out of tents and destroyed homes.
Dr. Masoud, when we look at pictures of physicians and nurses, and there is one particular doctor that I know, he is in the north. The other day he sent me a picture. He's emaciated. Like, was there any food? Did you take any supplies? How is the situation of the medical staff in these hospitals that you saw?
So, obviously, we know there's widespread famine going. The blockade is having devastating effects on all of Gaza. Whether you're poor or rich, whether you're a doctor or not doctor, whether you're living out of a tent or still have a home. Across the board, the price of wheat and flour is super high, and most people cannot afford it. And everyone has lost 20, 25 pounds across the board. But again, those who have nothing, and they're literally, they're the ones who are forced to try to get the grain from these trucks entering. And again, I'm not sure how many trucks enter, but if you don't have 500 per day, it's leading to this catastrophe right now. But what we see as an ER doc and the other surgeons, these people who came in wounded from these aid entry points where they're trying to get grain because they're forced to. If you're in a state of starvation and you have nothing, your family has nothing, I'm not going to blame them if they want to try to get flour from these trucks which are passing by. And at the same time, they're being shot point blank by the Israeli army and by tanks. Many of the injuries basically were from shrapnel. Shrapnel doesn't come from guns. It comes from tanks. Devastating injuries. And these are teenagers. These are people in their 20s. The vast majority, because they're the ones who are physically able, even though they're bones, they're physically able to maybe get some grain for themselves and for their family. And this is, again, same same situation again and again. We're having these mass casualty incidents, and we could even time it at the hospitals when they're going to be coming in, because that's when the aid trucks, the few that Israel allows to enter, go through, and we have these casualties from, again, just being shot at because they're starving, and it's really like these are war crimes. I mean, these are all civilians, all young people, horrific injuries from head to toe.
You're just joining us. This is True Talk on WMNF 88.5 or on the True Talk podcast. We're speaking to Dr. Masoud Aranganwala. He is an emergency physician, 20 years experience, lives in New Jersey, born there, and recently went to Gaza to provide medical care from July to early August. And he was at the Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City and Aqsa Hospital in Dar al-Bala. So many people have described these, what the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation food distribution centers, which replaced the international organizations like the World Food Program and the United Nations for distributing aid, that these are some sort of death traps that they lure people in and then they just shoot at them to kill them. Is that the feeling that, that people have there? And despite that, they're still taking these risks?
Yes, 100%. Because again, I mean, the thing is that this situation has been created, the starvation, because the blockade it's not just a blockade of food. I mean, food is the basic necessity for people. I mean, to tell you what's happening is that in Gaza there are no fruits, there is no meat. To have vegetables is a commodity. To have coffee, it's more than 100. At least when I was there, more than $100 per kilo. Insane prices. The people were literally using chickpeas. I was actually given chickpeas, coffee from chickpeas. Like that's what they're doing. Sugar is $100 per kilo. The prices did go down depending on how much of it in one day. I mean, again, it's been 3 weeks, so I am not sure the situation right now. I mean, the prices can vary, but no one has. I mean, there protein malnutrition going on across the board. I mean, physicians who are just skin and bones. Yes, they're still better. They're at least they have. I mean, they're still their livelihood is still better than those who are. And some of them are living in tents, by the way. I mean, it's not like some of them do have homes, but the amount of food is so restricted. So that the best we had basically. I mean, I brought my protein bars and my cans of tuna, and I actually felt ashamed whenever I was eating that, because this is still better than any of the food that any Gazan has. And this is what's happening across the board, the severe malnutrition. So that's leading to these people, these young teenagers, young 20s, they're forced. They know that these are death traps. I mean, they know that the Israeli army is there, but what choice do they have? Am I going to allow I mean, the mentality is, I mean, some Gazans actually blame them. Like, why are they going there? Like, they're just, but from another standpoint, I mean, if their families are starving, they don't have any food. What
So what's the goal in your
what choice? Maybe do I at least risk my life and get my food?
What's the goal in your sorry to cut you off. Can you hear me?
Basically. But yeah, I can
what's
hear
the
you.
goal? What's the goal of the Israeli government to starve these Palestinians like this, the entire population?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, when the last day, last few days I was in Dar al-Bala in Aqsa Hospital, and I mean the situation there is not as catastrophic as in Gaza City, for example. But still, there were bombings. And the last day, it was pretty emotional because there was two drone attacks. Two drone attacks on children. I'm not talking about teenagers. I'm talking about children under 10 years old who were playing soccer in the streets. And they were basically, most of them who were brought in were just dead. There was a father who literally had to carry his 3-year-old towards the morgue with his mother also there passing away. His mother died right there, and his son has just died, 3 years old, after a head injury, after like shrapnel went to his in his head, brain matters visible, and this is a situation there where I mean drones they're there 24/7. Every Gazan I could hear the drones. So they're 24/7. It's almost like destroyed, and you have machines there patrolling. And this is like the situation in Gaza where you have destruction everywhere. And these drones, they know what's happening. They know there's kids playing soccer. But why would you bomb kids playing soccer? What threat is there? Not once, twice. And this happens on a daily basis in Gaza, where homes are bombed. I mean, one medical student in Shifa Hospital, her name is Shahid. And she was actually our translator. I mean, I speak a little bit Arabic, but it's not like I don't understand the dialect. So we needed a translator also, and she was very happy to. And it's almost like you can't even, know anything bad was happening. But she was there smiling, helping us out, me and my colleagues in the ER when we needed some translation. And a week earlier, her whole house was bombed by a drone. She lost her brother. And when I gave her my condolence, she said, "No, it's okay. It's okay." And she smiled. And this is a situation, everyone in Gaza has a story. And everyone, it's the same thing. When they tell you that, okay, this person died or my whole family died or I lost this, no one's crying. They're not crying. It's a part of life.
What do you attribute this resilience to? Like, what do you mean? What is the point you're trying to make? They're not crying. Why is that?
I think it just points to the resilience and the beauty and the courage of the people of Gaza. I've seen this across the board. No one cursed their oppressor. Not even once. I did not hear a single curse from them. Yet these are the people who are being oppressed, who are being starved, who are being killed, who are being maimed continuously. I've seen this continuously from the beginning to the end. And yet this is happening and the world just watching. And they're being starved. One huge reason is this blockade. But on top of this, now you have bombs dropping from drones, from F-16s. When one Gazan leaves their tent, they don't know if they're going to come back. Or if they enter their home, they don't know if they're going to make it to the morning. This is the life of every Gazan. Because it's like random attacks out of nowhere. And these are all civilians.
So the other thing that we often hear whenever, like, for example, when they attack these hospitals, when I say they, I'm saying the Israeli military attacks hospitals regularly. They basically attacked and destroyed just about every hospital, all the schools, residential buildings. They're now getting ready to invade Gaza City and have given evacuation orders for everyone to leave Gaza City. Every time they say, oh, it's because this building is being used by Hamas, this hospital is Hamas headquarters, this is, et cetera, et cetera. Have you seen any Hamas fighters while you were there and for the, helping people in the hospitals and providing medical aid?
I swear to God, I saw zero Hamas. And I mean, even before this catastrophe, I've heard sometimes, not frequently, by people who are from Israel, they call Palestinians terrorists. It's basically,
including children.
It's known.
I think
they've been
they also
demonized from even before they did any crime.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon? Yeah. I mean, they've been demonized as terrorists. I mean, so I don't. It's not a surprise that they have to have some excuse, and that's the excuse, and that's obviously a blatant fabrication and lie. It's just, when you've demonized the people to be terrorists, you can say that's all they have, really. But they're all civilians, and I mean, the actions speak louder than words. What's happening? And me and my colleagues, and it was clear every day. Same thing. You had basically people, teenagers, youngsters, some coming with gunshots or shrapnel to the brain, chest. I mean, if you look through the wards, it's like people with chest tubes. If they don't have a chest tube, they have basically an amputation, wound, or ORIF. Like the pins and needles from outside the bone for bad fractures. This is basically the people who are recovering. Some have open wounds in the abdomen, horrific injuries, and these are the people you see in the wards. Not yes, there are people who are emaciated, but it's these are the primary people who are in the hospitals from severe trauma.
From what
Are
I
these
gather,
terrorists? I mean, I don't. I mean, yeah.
from what I gather, is all of this is designed to drive the Palestinians off their land so they can take their land at any cost. If if they're not leaving voluntarily, they carry out this genocide. But at the end, the goal is ethnic cleansing so they can take their land. Would you agree with that assessment?
It's pretty clear. I mean, I mean, to the new campaign to wipe out Gaza City. If you look at Gaza City, it's already 80% destroyed. How much destruction can you cause a city which has already been, decapitated? I mean, there's still people living there, surviving from the ashes, from the rubble, and trying to live. That's the goal of the Gazan people. They live day to day, not like us from years to years. We can plan. They live day to day, and they're already homeless. I mean, it's pretty clear that they want to make everyone homeless, and drive them out as well. It's very. As I was leaving, I was really very. It was a state of sadness because I'm like I didn't do much at all. I don't even know what I did because maybe I may have helped someone for a short period of time. But the situation is so bleak, and it's getting worse by like this new campaign where they're just completely flattening it out. It's like, as one colleague mentioned, is that what they want to do is the same thing what they did to Rafah, where it's a tent city. It's completely been leveled. Everything, including the sanitation, has been destroyed. So they want to do the same with Gaza City. And Gaza City is a hub, whatever is left of it, of the people of Gaza, because 1 million people live there. And it's, yes, of course, it's nothing more than, clearly it's ethnic cleansing and much worse. I mean, they say, okay, you have to get out. Get out from where? Where are they going to go? I mean, there's only one road which is going to lead to the shore, and it's littered with tents from tents. I don't know where they can go. So the people of Gaza I don't know much about the history and the geography. I've just been there for like 2.5 weeks, even though it seemed like a month. But from an outsider, I don't know where they can even go.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think there's any place to go. And it's sad that the international community is just watching all this massacres and death and destruction happen, and they're not doing anything to stop it. Dr. Masoud Rangiwala, thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us today, and traveling to Gaza and helping those that need it the most, risking your own life. We commend you for doing that.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, but it was really not anything I did, really. But it's really just being honored to be with the people of Gaza. These are people who are really special, heroic people, really, and they're really beautiful people. And they don't have evil in their hearts. One thing I realized that they do not have, even for their oppressor. They're very beautiful people. So it was an honor to be there among them, and I hope to be there with them, serving them soon in the future.
I hope so too. And stay safe. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Samar Masoud, I can tell from Dr. Masoud's voice that he's frustrated, tries to help, but there's only so much somebody can do. It's like you have an avalanche of just mass murdering that's happening and destruction.
Yes, and he is a witness to it. And like he said, he's a physician and he is not of Arab descent or Palestinian. He just happens to be a very good-hearted physician, American physician, and he doesn't even speak Arabic. And he could see through the kindness and the resilience of the Palestinian people. I'm so honored that he took the time and risked his life to go to Gaza. But Ahmed, as we speak, I just saw that the FBI released a photo image of the guy,
Suspect
the
or
suspect.
the assailant.
Yeah.
And what does he look like?
Well, from what I see, he doesn't look Arab, which is or Muslim. He's wearing the glasses, like dark glasses, uh,
Oh, okay.
his t-shirt, the skinny. Uh, uh,
Definitely the way the shot was done is looks like an experienced professional sniper, maybe military trained.
he has a
Uh,
flag, looks like the American flag, but there is something
yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
I see the image now. He's
Oh,
wearing
yes.
dark glasses and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, yesterday there were videos of this old man that they had arrested and they're dragging him and somebody screaming in his face, "Shame on you." It's just that guy was completely not
Yeah, and
involved.
he was screaming, "Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me." I mean, I don't know why he
He's
was
probably
saying
mentally ill.
that.
Sometimes they do these, or he was a decoy. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions. It's just like, and then, it's a sensitive time. Anything we say on it will get the wrong reaction from different people. So time will tell. The truth will eventually come out. Who
Yeah,
carried out these stuffs? But really, at the end, who's benefiting? Who's going to benefit from this? I mean, right away on Fox News, all these channels, they're making, Charlie Kirk as some sort of martyr and a national hero and lowering the flags and it's almost like they're completely just right away before they caught anyone or any suspect, they're pointing the finger at the left, that
yeah.
somehow the left is responsible for all of this, which that type of rhetoric is irresponsible because that will create civil unrest. It will create, divisions within the United States. People will resort to political violence, and it's not an easy time in America.
No,
When
it's
the
not.
National Guard is and ICE agents are bashing people's heads and arresting them, and then this happens, and it's like the two political parties and they hate each other and despise each other, and it's just if you can't work out your differences civilly and through policy and through Congress. I mean, one time I remember a member of Congress saying that Congress is a substitute for violence. And if there was no political system and there's no Congress or legislative body or democracy in America, the alternative will be violence. That's what it used to be. And that's what it would go to again if you don't have this a form of government or some sort of agreed upon contract where people abide by that. And if people are not abiding by it, then there'll be these types, potentially violence. So we can't allow that to happen. Otherwise, we're all going to be in danger.
Yes, Ahmed, but the reaction to his unfortunate death is quite in contrast with, for instance, wasn't there a shooting of a Minnesota legislator and her
Oh,
husband?
yeah. Yeah.
So, like that story it took a minute or two and then disappeared. Although, I mean, they have official kind of jobs and they're state reps, but
Yeah, there were government officials.
yeah, government officials. But it seems that no one, the media are not very much interested. And then, of course, if you go to Twitter or X, they call it now, you have people from all walks of life talking either about conspiracy theories or talking about this or that. But at the end of the day, even if there is, I mean, speech should not be dealt with through shooting and killing. Debate is important. I know that you and I discuss sensitive issues, difficult issues. Some people may disagree with us, But disagreement should not warrant any kind of violent reaction and murder and stuff like that. So it is unfortunate. And I don't think the Republican Party or the conservatives in the Republican Party should be really using this incident to stoke more
I mean,
division.
yeah, Trump himself even mentioned that this, the left and, that they're like pointing the finger, that their rhetoric and is what, directly contributed to this, that somehow that's the reason. I mean, you have a lot of people on the right that are also, invoking violence and incitement and things, but somehow, so it's really dangerous territory when that becomes the rhetoric. I mean, a president, government officials should be bringing people together and not furthering divide and pointing the finger. And, I heard from a professor today who was at a campus and said that some of the students did not show up to work, I mean, to class, and they were like kind of the left-leaning students, and he interpreted it as that, they're probably afraid to go to school, because fearing backlash because of the rhetoric that exists.
That's in Tampa, you mean? Or
Yeah, in Tampa, and it's so far away, but it has a impact nationwide.
yes, and the
Uh,
fact that this happened in a college campus really is very disturbing because, US colleges are the places where you have debate and you have different clubs and you have different lectures and people coming from outside universities to lecture. I mean, I have been invited to Texas and to different states to speak at colleges when I published my book in English. And to think that somebody might be armed and can shoot you because you are different or saying something different is very scary,
yeah,
especially in a college setting.
and like you mentioned earlier, the Minnesota shooting of the elected officials or government officials, and some of them former. The shooter in that situation was a guy who dressed as a police officer, and he targeted Democrats. And, his political ideology seemed to be like, leaning on the right with no ties to the left or anything. But again, that got coverage for a day or two, but nothing like this. So, and it's not like left-leaning stations or MSNBC was, trying to somehow turn the victims into some sort of martyrs. But definitely you see that with Fox News and others that are kind of exploiting the situation uh, without even having a suspect in place to do all the speculation that, oh, it's the left. And that's really dangerous. That's, so you don't really know. And at the end, who's going to benefit from this? Just like after the events of 9/11, when that was carried out, and there's still so many unanswered questions. Right away, a certain group exploited that, mainly the neocons, and used it as a way to go to war and settle scores against Iraq and Afghanistan and other places, and carrying out all these wars in the Middle East that had nothing to do with 9/11. Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. And we're still, the world is still trying to recover from those wars. And the United States is now trillions of dollars in debt because of those wars, the war on terror, that many of the places that they went and bombed and attacked and invaded had nothing to do with 9/11. Did not have any hijack. None of the hijackers came from those countries. So there are definitely people, elements within the government, elements within society that will exploit situations like this and
Ahmed,
turn them to something completely different.
we're running out of time, and I just wanted to mention what happened in Qatar, an independent nation state that has one of the largest US bases in the Gulf region, was attacked by Israel to
Yeah,
kill
definitely. And
the very
I think
team that
we
is
want to talk about that
negotiating.
next week because we're kind of out of time. But you have about 20 seconds. So what is
Yeah,
your comment?
they're bombing the very team that is doing the negotiation with Witkoff and the U.S. government to release the hostages and to end this war. So this is and there is a summit coming up on Sunday in Qatar, and they said we're gonna answer. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're going to answer. But that just shows you that Netanyahu and his government have no intention to do a ceasefire because they basically are trying to kill the negotiators and everyone there. So, anyway, we're out of time. This is WMNF Tampa. The scoop is next. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you next Thursday, same